أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. والحمد لله رب العالمين، باعث الأنبياء والمرسلين، بارئ الخلائق أجمعين. ثم الصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين، حبيب إله العالمين أبي القاسم محمد.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد
وعلى آله الطيبين الطاهرين الذين أذهب الله عنهم الرجس وطهرهم تطهيرا.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
واللعنة الدائمة على أعدائهم إلى قيام يوم الدين. أما بعد، فقد قال الله في محكم كتابه وقرآنه المجيد وقوله الحق: أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. وإذ ابتلى إبراهيم ربه بكلمات فأتمهن قال إني جاعلك للناس إماما قال ومن ذريتي قال لا ينال عهد الظالمين. آمنا بالله. صدق الله العلي العظيم. Respected brothers and sisters, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I'm only going to do this once. I'll just do a quick sound check because to me, I can't make sure that these speakers are all working. So is this better or pretty much the same? It's a little bit better? Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. In the ayah that I quoted at the outset, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in Surah Al-Baqarah, ayah number 124, that when God decided to test Ibrahim, now of course Prophet Ibrahim is no stranger to tests. There are many things that are unique with regards to Prophet Ibrahim. You look at how he even calls his people. He doesn't necessarily just stick to words. He doesn't just stick to what Prophet Musa alayhi salam is told, right? وَقُولُوا لَهُ قَوْلًا لَيِّنًا. Speak to him in soft terms, right? No, Ibrahim alayhi salam, he'll have a different way of dealing with the people. Yani if he needs to, he'll go and also topple the idols and then go and give a new type of argument that, ask the big one. He can talk, right? Go and ask the big one. Ibrahim is tested in ways that other Anbiya are also not tested. For example, he's thrown into a fire. That doesn't seem to faze him too much. Even while he's in the fire, Jibreel, Mikael, Israfil all come to him and they say, Utlub hajatak, go ahead and ask for what you want. And he says beautiful and powerful words. He says, Allah Ta'ala knows better what I need than what I mean, if I go and say it, is that going to change anything? Allah Ta'ala already knows. And so this is something that even, it astounds even the malaika. So when Prophet Ibrahim is being mentioned in this ayah, that something special is being tested from him. وَإِذِ ابْتَلَى إِبْرَاهِيمُ بِكَلِمَاتٍ على التفخيم. This tanween kasra over here, this is for, not even tafkhim, this is for ta'zim. This is some amazing test that he's going through right now. فَأَتَمَّهُنْ, and he fulfilled it. Tonight, inshallah, there will be a couple of different subjects that I would like to touch on. Our first half of the program, of the lecture, will be surrounding this ayah. The second half, inshallah, if Allah gives me tawfiq, will be about the happiness of the Ahlul Bayt Salawatullah wa salamuhu alayhim.
Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
So we begin with the ayah. There are three things that I want to discuss tonight with regards to this ayah. Number one, obviously this Quran is something that we share with our brothers and sisters in Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah. When we come to this ayah in the books of the Mufassirin of Ahl Sunnah, the likes of Fakhr al-Razi, the likes of Tabari, the likes of Al-Alusi, what do they say when they come to this word imam? Inni ja'iluka linnasi imam. You ask a Shia, it's very clear. They say, Baba, you want something even clearer? There are 12 imams over here. Quran says imam, khalas, imam is imam. La, this is not going to be enough when we talk to other schools of thought. Why? Because who is also an imam in the Quran? Fir'aun is an imam. He's an imam. It says, we've made him an imam calling people to Jahannam. So just like how when we look at the word Sahaba in the Quran, and we say, look, Sahaba is neutral. Prophet Yusuf alayhi salam, doesn't he use the word Sahib? Ya Sahibayas Ijin. Oh, my two mates, my two companions here in this prison cell. We see, fine, yes, the word Sahib is used in the cave verse, right? Ayah number 40 of Surah At-Tawbah. Is this necessarily a fadila? No, not necessarily. It's a neutral word. The ayah will tell us further what to make of this sahib and whether it's good or bad. So we can't just make a judgment call, oh wow, as some people will come and say in their tafsir of ayah number 40 of Surah At-Tawbah. MashaAllah, he was called sahib of Rasulullah in Fighar, in the cave. This is, what more do you Shi'as and others want? Munkar Fada'ila Abi Bakr. What do you want? He's a sahib. We say, look, just because he's a sahib, Yusuf had sahaba as well. This does not really mean much. We have to look further for clues. So we look at the word imam, and they'll accuse us of the same thing. That you are jumping to conclusions, you're jumping the gun. You saw the word imam, you started making your Eid, and you didn't even look to see, is this good or bad? Awalan, we say, look, of course it's going to be good, it's for Prophet Ibrahim. That's from the first aspect. Second of all, if there's someone who has been mentioned bad in the Quran, who has been given this title of imam, that already shows that the imam word can be neutralized by virtue of someone bad, namely Fir'aun, being named an imam. Imam linguistically, all it means is someone who leads. Someone who leads prayer is called what? Imam. What are the people who are following him in salah, what are they called? Ma'mum or ma'mumin. So this is not something from a linguistic perspective has much of a punch. We have to look further. Because what do our brothers and sisters in Ahl Sunnah, what do they define this word imam in ayah 124 of Surah Al-Baqarah as? Nabi, as a prophet. Here, if we just left it as imam, there wouldn't be much of a problem. We could go and say, okay, there's some kind of a menzil, there's some kind of a status called imam that they have and we have. But when they say that this is a prophet, we have to look a little bit further. That, number one, is the status of prophet given after some kind of test? No. Even with Prophet Ibrahim, we see the ayah where he comes to his father, Wala ya abati, it says what? Follow me, ahdika ila sabil al-rushd, right? I will go and guide you to the path of guidance, right? That there's knowledge that is given to me and I will guide you. He says this when he's young or when he's old? You tell me. When he's with his his uncle, Aza, is he young or is he old? Young. When he's talking over here to Allah Ta'ala, وَمِن ذُرِّيَّتِي, is this old or young? We'll come back to this in a minute. But already we've established that he's a prophet when he's young. The second proof is that this ayah has to happen after the Bishara of Ishaq. The Bishara of Ishaq, the good news of the Prophet Ishaq's birth, is a story that's repeated a couple of times in the Quran. What happens? A couple of angels come. Ibrahim prepares a meal for them. They say, basically, we're not going to touch this food. He starts to feel fear. Why? Because in that day, an assassin had a creed. I don't want any of my young, folks over here hearing the word Assassin's Creed and you're like, you know what? Muharram and Safar are gone. Maulana has given his stamp of approval. We're going to go play Assassin's Creed all night. La. What we're saying over here is that people who came and they had an agenda to kill, they would have a code of honor. That I'm not going to eat my guests' food if I'm going to be killing you. It's going to be bad manners if I'm here to kill you and I'm also going to be eating from your food. It's not good manners, Better that I don't eat. So now Ibrahim's like, you're not going to touch my food. What's going on over here? So this is why they come and say, La takhaf. Nubashiruka bi ghulamin alim. We're here to go and give you good news of a young boy who is knowledgeable. He says, are you congratulating me of something while I'm in my old age? Question. What does he ask in Surah Al-Baqarah, ayah 124? He says, وَمِن ذُرِّيَّتِي. Yes? So he knows that he has a dhurriyyah. He's not surprised. Like in those ayat where he is surprised. Is everyone following along? If you're going to be surprised that you have kids, shouldn't that come before or after? Meaning, should the verse of imama come first? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, you're going to be an imam. He says, how about from my kids? Then when Jibreel and Israfil and Mikael, they say, hey, you're going to have kids. Me? I'm going to have kids? This is what they call, in logic, putting the cart in front of the horse. B comes before A, all of a sudden. This is mutaqaddam and mutaakhir. This is not something that we can accept. It has to be the other way around. That he finds out that he's going to have a kid. And he's now surprised that he's going to have a kid in such age, such advanced years. And then afterwards, now that he has the kid, he's going to be told, you're going to be made an imam. He's going to ask, what about from my kids? He's going to say, Allah's going to say, لا ينال عهد الظالمين. Question. Someone could come and say, wait, but this is about who? Ishaq. Does Ishaq have a brother or no? Bil'akas, of course he does. What's the name of his brother, brothers and sisters? Who's going to tell me? Especially from those who, inshallah, go to the Sunday school over here. I'd appreciate if maybe one of them could answer. What's the name of Prophet Ishaq's brother? Ismail. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Ismail alayhi salam. He's also born pretty late in Ibrahim's life. What if our interlocutor doesn't accept that he's born when Ibrahim is old? What do we give him? We give him the dua of Prophet Ibrahim when he's thanking Allah. Alhamdulillah alladhi ja'alani. Is it ja'alani or wahabani Ismail wa Ishaq ala al-kibr. Right? That he's given me Ismail and Ishaq in old age. Both of them were given in old age. So whether it's Ismail and he says, وَمِن ذُرِّيَّتِي, or it's both Ismail and Ishaq and he says, وَمِن ذُرِّيَّتِي, Ibrahim has already completed the argument for us that he was old. So already he's a Nabi from before. You know why this part of the discussion is very important, brothers and sisters? Lend your attention to me. If you guys aren't going to listen to anything else, pay attention to this. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Because there is a worldview within our brothers and sisters of Ahl Sunnah that Isma is not necessarily something that the Anbiya have. Isma, this infallibility, is not necessarily something that prophets have. Therefore, they have this worldview that, why are you telling me to go and do this or that? If the Prophet couldn't get it right, leave me alone. He had Jibreel to go and help him. He still couldn't go and doing everything right. So leave me alone if I go and make mistakes. If my Khalifas make mistakes, leave them alone. Leave them out of it. Why are you coming and making such a fuss? Here we see that there's an important point. Because if we see that this is nubuwah, yes, then there are people who will come and say that after all of this, he becomes a Nabi. Do they believe that Prophet Ibrahim made mistakes or no? Other schools of thought. Not us. Us, we believe he's ma'soom. They believe, yes, he has made a mistake. What's the mistake of Prophet Ibrahim? When he went and told his people, they're telling him, come to the festival. He says, Inni saqim, I am sick. He lied. Why did he lie? So he could stay behind and go and demolish all of those idols. So they say, look, he went and did this, and even afterwards, he was still able to be made a prophet. Right? This is not the consequential ayah that they bring all of their arguments from, but it helps to support that when they go and read their tafsir. We have a problem with this. We say that no. When we look at, for example, and this brings us to the second part of this discussion on the ayah. We have an alim, one of the older alims, by the name of Qadi Nurullah al-Tustari. He brings a very, very beautiful argument when it comes to this ayah. He says, first of all, we have to look at the perspective of Prophet Ibrahim alayhi salatu wasalam. When he's talking to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, this is Khalilullah. Is he going to just go and ask a question? Yani, hayallah? Afwan, brothers and sisters, especially the sisters in the back, if you guys could keep the conversations for later on, that would be very helpful. Some of the brothers are asking if we could have some silence. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Qadi Nurullah Tustari comes and brings this beautiful argument about this ayah, and this is very, very detailed, so please pay attention because you can get very easily lost. Bismillah. Qadi Nurullah Tustari says that when Ibrahim is asking وَمِن ذُرِّيَّتِي, there can only be three. We will make four categories of all those possible categories that could possibly be asked for. It says, قَالَ وَمِن ذُرِّيَّتِي. Can this imama also happen in my children, in my future generations? Qadi Nurullah Tustari comes and says there are only four different categories possible over here. And I want you to, as I go and name A, B, C, and D, I want you to go and imagine an X and Y axis. Put A over here, B over here, C over here, D over here. Doable or no? Yes? Yes or no? Yes? Probably pretty easy, okay? In category A, we have those who used to be zalim. Why are we calling upon this title of zalim? Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala himself says, قَالَ لَا يَنَالُ عَهْدِ الظَّالِمِينَ. Says this pact of imama will not reach the zalimin. Qadi Nurullah Tustari says that there are only four different types of people that Ibrahim could have been asking for. A, in this first quadrant, is those who used to be sinners and then they repented and they became good. B is those who were always sinners. C is those who were always good, they were never sinners. And D is those who were good and then what? Became sinners. And we'll give names too for this. We won't bring in any controversial names, don't worry, settle down. But we'll go and bring in people who are acceptable to all schools of thought. Tamam? In category A, we have people who used to be bad, then they became good. Like who? Like Abbas, the uncle of Rasulullah, Abbas ibn Abdul Muttalib, Radwanullah ta'ala alayhi. He used to be what? Ala din al-mushrikeen. He used to be a mushrik. Then he becomes what? Muslim. And over here, we're just bringing the name of Abbas. Other schools of thought, they will want to bring the names of their khalifas because they were also what? Before? Mushrikeen. Then they became what? Muslims. And who do they say is more worthy than Imam Ali ibn Abi Talib to become Khalifa? They say, oh, he was young. Right? So they say, give the elders a chance. Then when Ali is ready, he'll have his chance. Okay. So we see that this imama does not apply to the zalimeen. The first type of people that Qadi Nurullah Tustari comes and says is those who were bad, became good. Where did we put them? In this top left quadrant. A. Now we come over here, B. B is who? Who did we say? Those who were always bad. Who was always bad, for example? Abu Lahab. Tabbat yada abi lahabin wa tab. Did Abu Lahab ever convert? If he converted, then this surah becomes, right? Falsified. Quran is gone, Islam is gone. Abu Lahab never became a Muslim. Always was a mushrik. Always stayed a mushrik. Is this who Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying, قَالَ لَا يَنَالُ أَحْدِ الظَّالِمِينَ? We'll come back. He is of course a zalim. But over here, in this part of the discussion with Qadi Nurullah Tustari, we're looking at what is Ibrahim asking for. Ibrahim has someone in his mind. Can these people become imams? Number one is, people who were bad, then they became eventually good. Yani they did tawbah. These people, they never did tawbah, they were always bad. C, people who were always good. Here, who's our example? Ali ibn Abi Talib, salawatullah wa salamuhu alayhi. Here, our brothers and sisters in Ahlus Sunnah will have to agree with us because they also have different honorifics when it comes to Imam Ali alayhi salam. Bukhari says alayhi salam. Bukhari also comes and says karramallahu wajha. There's a specific honorific that comes with Imam Ali alayhi salam, and they don't give this to any of the other Sahaba. So they'll come and say, okay, fine, yeah, he was born in Islam and he died on Islam. Are there any things that they can come and try to put on him that they can say he did wrong? They'll try. They'll come and say, oh, he angered Fatima. He tried to go and marry the daughter of Abu Jahl. Question. If Imam Ali alayhi salam wants to marry a second wife, is that something haram? No. I ask you. He's not Rasulullah. Rasulullah can go and marry more wives than 4. If Imam Ali alayhi salam has one wife, he wants to marry another one, is that haram? Okay. If his father-in-law is going to be Abu Jahl, what's our answer to that? Well, Rasulullah's father-in-law is Abu Sufyan. What's the problem with Imam Ali alayhi salam having a father-in-law named Abu Jahl? If, there's a big asterisk over here. We say if we accept this hadith that he even wanted to marry a woman around the same time that Fatima al-Zahra was married. We of course know Fatima al-Zahra is enough for Imam Ali alayhi salam, just like how Khadija was enough for Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi.
Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
Ali alayhi salam doesn't need the daughter of Abu Jahl. But even if, did he do something wrong? No. This is only a ploy because they know that the anger of Fatima is the anger of Rasulullah. And the anger of Rasulullah is the anger of who? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Rabbul Alameen. And so they have to go and try to say, well, if they angered her, someone else angered her first. So why are you playing favorites? We're saying we're not playing favorites. This is not something wrong. This is not even a reliable hadith. Al-Muhim, we come back to Qadi Nurullah Tustari. We said that A, who's the personality who we're going to put over there? We say Abbas ibn Abdul Muttalib. B, we're going to put who? Abu Lahab. C, we're going to put who? Abu al-Hasan, Abu Turab, Ali ibn Abi Talib. D, we're going to put who? What was D? D was the person who was good and then turned bad. This, brothers and sisters, we pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that none of us are victims of something called su'ul aqibah. Wal-a'yadu billah. Su'ul aqibah is you start off good. We're all inshallah good right now. Inshallah, all of us are mu'mineen. What do we die upon? I don't know. This is something that I would encourage those brothers and sisters who are very interested in barzakh, in the qiyamah, and all of that. I made a whole entire 10-part series in my Ashra for Ashura, last Ashura. Not this one that just passed, the one before that when I was in Dallas. Over there, I went and mentioned that there we have rawayat, brothers and sisters, that say what? People who were good in their lives, but they just had the wrong belief system. Really, wallahi, they tried to do their best. Malak al-Maut will come and say to them, look, we're really impressed. You deserve to die ala al-haq, on the right path. So repeat after me, Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah, wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan abduhu wa rasuluh, wa ashhadu anna Aliyan waliyallah, wa ashhadu anna Aliyan, wa ashhadu anna Hasan خليفته وأشهد أن حسين خليفته وأشهد أن علي بن الحسين خليفته وأشهد أن محمد بن علي خليفته وأشهد أن جعفر بن محمد خليفته وأشهد أن موسى بن جعفر خليفته وأشهد أن علي بن موسى خليفته وأشهد أن محمد بن علي خليفته وأشهد أن علي بن محمد خليفته وأشهد أن حسن بن علي خليفته وأشهد أن محمد بن الحسن القائم. They go through all of the Imam's names and they say, repeat after us. They go and repeat, and without anything due upon them, meaning no salah, no hajj, no khums, no saum, nothing is due upon them. Immediately Malak al-Maut takes them in this state of iman and they die without anything that they need to do. On the other hand, our Imams are very clear, and I don't mean to scare you. However, the same rawayat will come and say that there may be someone who is born Shia, born on, forget about Millat Ibrahim, Millat Ali ibn Abi Talib wa awsiyaihi, and Iblis will come with Malak al-Maut. And he'll come, perhaps those of you who come from Pakistan, from India, perhaps also Iraq and Lebanon, you know, especially on a day with a lot of hotness, you know those cups that are stainless steel? And when there's ice cold water, you know how the water, the perspiration, the beads of sweat, that cup starts to look very, very tantalizing. And it looks like it's very, very cold. You know the kinds of cups that I'm talking about, yes? Iblis comes with one of those types of cups. And he is able to, I mean, now we can understand this in modern technology. He turns the thermostat very hot. He goes and says, do you want this water? This person says, yes, I really want it. More than anything. He says, you'll do anything that I ask you to do? He says, yes. He says, Ukfur billah. He says, go and do kufr of Allah. Now this is a test. Does this person accept or reject? Does this person pass or fail? The person who passes, okay, he's at least safe for now. But it's really bad if Iblis shows up to your deathbed and he thinks that he has a chance at this last minute to take you over to his side. The person who fails, though, he says, I do kufr of Allah. Astaghfirullah. What does Iblis do? He goes and takes this cup and he pours it and says, you've lost dunya and akhirah. And in this state, Malak al-Maut takes this person's soul. This is Su'ul Aqibah. This is that category D person, okay? We said A, B, C, and over here on the bottom right, on my left, right, would be D. This person who has Su'ul Aqibah. We'll give this person a name. Who? Zubayr ibn Awwam. Zubayr, Imam Ali alayhi salam says, Kana minna ahlul bayt. He used to be one of us. When Saqifa happened, yes? Who was in the house of Imam Ali ibn Abi Talib plotting, how do we take back the haqq of the Ahlul Bayt? Zubayr. Even in the literature of Ahlul Sunnah, when Umar comes to the house of Fatima with a fire in his hand, yes, who comes out with a sword and that sword is knocked out of his hand? Zubayr. Zubayr was with Imam Ali and Fatima Al-Zahra. What happens? Where does Zubayr die? Zubayr dies at the Battle of Siffin. At the Battle of Jamal, running away after trying to start a war against the Imam of his time. Su'ul Aqibah. Su'ul Aqibah. This is a bad ending. Qadi Nurullah Tusturi comes and says, who over here is Ibrahim thinking of and asking Allah when he says, وَمِن ذُرِّيَّتِي? Can this also be present in my dhurriyyah? By the way, take notice that I made sure to mention all of these names, what? From Quraysh. Min dhurriyyati Ibrahim. Tamam Maulana, yes or no? Abbas ibn Abdul Muttalib is from Quraysh. Abu Lahab is from Quraysh. Ali ibn Abi Talib is from Quraysh. And Zubayr is also from Quraysh. Follow along with me. Which ones are absolutely disgusting if we say that Prophet Ibrahim was asking for imama? We already know that he was a Nabi. We know that he's a Rasul. Now he becomes an Imam. So after all of these tests, he says, can this station of imama, can this also happen for Abu Lahab?
No.
Abu Lahab. Ibrahim is asking for Abu Lahab. La, بالعكس. The person who's always bad. Not even possible. So we cross out B and we say this is not even possible. Is he going to be asking for the person who has su al-aqiba, like Zubayr ibn Awam? The person who was good and now he becomes bad. Yeah, this person, please, Ya Allah, please, make him an imam. Is this even logical? So B and D, we cross out. How many do we have left? 2. A and C. Ibrahim alayhi salam asks, generally, look, those who became good, can they reach imam? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala comes and says something very interesting. It says, لا ينال عهد الظالمين. Meaning, you're thinking of 2 different categories, A and C. The person who was bad then, they did tawbah, they became good, or the person who always was good. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, this covenant, this imamah will never reach al-zalimin. Meaning A is crossed out by who? Rabbul Alameen, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Does that make sense? B and D, obviously Ibrahim is never asking for it. That leaves A and C. A, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying, look, some of your dhurriya will get it. Zalimeen, however, will never get it. So who's crossed out? Abbas ibn Abdul Muttalib. As well as anybody else who the other schools of thought would like to go and put in, meaning their khulafa. Here we ask a very important question because it could come up in your polemical arguments. Someone may come and ask you, oh, so someone who's zalim is someone who once upon a time they did a dhulm, even if they did tawbah, khalas, that's it, on their book of deeds, they're always stamped forever as zalimeen. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says what? La yanalu ahd zalimeen. Baba, I did one thing wrong, I'm sorry, I did tawbah. So I can't go to Jannah now? Khalas, I will always have the label of someone who is zalim. What do we answer to this? Brothers and sisters, if you don't mind, again the noise level is getting a little bit high. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Unfortunately, 1 salawat is not enough for a water break. Let's have another 2. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. So now we come to the second discussion, and this comes to us from a very, very daqiq. He's very detailed and learned muhaqqiq by the name of Al-Sheikh Muhammad Ismail Al-Khajui. This sheikh over here has many very, very interesting buhuth. He has many different researches. Here he comes and says that look, when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala responds, there has to be some kind of ilaqa, there has to be some kind of connection to what Ibrahim was thinking. I'll give you an example, okay? I come over to one of your houses. You go and ask me, Maulana, can I offer you some juice? I go and say, I don't drink chai. You ask me what? Juice. I answered you what? Chai. Chai, okay, I can understand if I have some Mormon who's knocking on my door, they come in, they say, coffee, afwan, please, we don't drink caffeine. Okay? If I, as a Muslim, I'm going to a Christian's house, they say, can I get you anything to drink? I say, look, I just don't drink alcohol. Meaning what? Meaning everything else is fine. Okay? Give you another example. You come to me and you say, why don't you go and why don't you send your son and send him with some of your family members to Hajj. Give them, wikala. What do I go and say? I go and say, I don't give wikala, I don't give responsibility to betrayers. Kha'in. People who are traitors. What do you understand from this? If I go and say this, then I'm trying to say that all of my family are kha'inin. They're all traitors. They will all betray me. If they're not, if there's someone who is not fitting that description, then it's not right for me to go and say this. I go and say, okay, fine, there's one person who I can go and send them. If Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, La yanalu ahdi al-zalimin, Shaykh al-Khajui comes and says what? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has an irada when He goes and says this. Everything that He goes and says, obviously in the Quran, has fa'idah, has some kind of benefit for us. Not to mention, this is a conversation between who and Allah? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and a 5-year-old? Or Ibrahim, Khalilullah? Of course, Ibrahim. So when He goes and says, La yanalu ahdi al-zalimin, the first understanding that we could take from this is everybody from the dhurriya of Ibrahim, zalimin. Right? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying, no, imama, this is something, this is a really cool position. You can go and just have an election, inshallah, right? If, 2 people, they go and say that this person should be the Khalifa, Eidak, yalla, give me your hand, I'll go and just, anybody from Quraysh, yalla, come on, just go and give me your hand, I'll go and swear my allegiance to you. This person is not your Khalifa. Dhurriya, this isn't some kind of a family game over here. Nepotism, Islam doesn't have nepotism. So this is what we would understand from the meaning, if this is what Islam truly thought from the Dhurriya of Prophet Ibrahim. Is there anybody who's not zalim? Anybody? Yeah, Ismail, Ishaq, Yaqub, Yusuf. On top of all of them, رؤوسهم سيد الخلق أجمعين Rasulullah Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wasallam. These are not zalimeen. They don't deserve imam. Of course they do. But here, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is, again, coming back to that little matrix that we just did with the X and Y axis. Even if one time they did dhulm ever in their life, we're not saying that khalas, they have this stamp that they can never be removed from the category of the zalimeen. We're saying that because once upon a time, for 1 second, if they ever did anything that was dhulm, then they do not deserve this position of imamah. That's all we're saying. We're not saying that they can never get to heaven. Bab al-Tawbah maftuh. The door of Tawbah is wide open. Go and do Tawbah anytime that you want. As long as it's not after death. Yes? Or at the time of death when it's not sincere. Like Fir'aun, right? Al-an, now you want to go and believe? No, this is not something that we can accept. What burhan came to you that you suddenly, oh wow, the sea looks really good today on both sides, right? Now that it's about to crash on top of me, Amanna bi Rabbi Musa wa Bani Israel. Come on, this is too late. What is this? So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when He comes and says, La yanalu ahdi al-zalimin, Shaykh Khajui comes and says, number one, what? Obviously it cannot be the whole dhurriya is zalimin. Says there has to be some kind of ilaqa, there has to be some kind of connection to what Ibrahim was thinking. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He's not just going to be talking to some 5-year-old, He's like, look, zalimeen, they cannot get this, right? No. This is talking about anybody. Min fatrat zaman, in any second, at any period of human history, if the title was ever applicable, what we would say in our language, if the shoe ever fit, right? Then it's not possible for this person to become an imam. Because at that point, when you saw this person doing dhulm, whether it's to a bug or to a human being, you're going to say, this person, hada imam al-nas, inni ja'iluka lin-nasi imama. You don't accept this. This is why some mufassirin from Ahl Sunnah, like Fakhr al-Razi, they would go and say, فَأَتَمَّهُنَّ. This is not يعني موضوع كلامنا today. This is not the subject of our بحث today. Bas, when he comes and says فَأَتَمَّهُنَّ, he says, سوف من بعد, soon, he will fulfill it. يعني Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is making an imam, he will go and pass his test later. This is going back to immediately what we said before, that this person, they can go and eventually do tawbah, and then they can become a nabi. Do you find in their books or no, that if there was a prophet after me, it would have been Omar? Okay, this is the kind of hadith that they have, because they're trying to show, okay, if he could have been said by Rasulullah, he could be a prophet after me, it's because فَأَتَمَّهُنَّ, he could have done it afterwards, he could have done tawbah afterwards. Let him do whatever he wants to the Bayt of Fatima-Zahra. Let him do whatever he wants to Ali ibn Abi Talib. He goes and puts a rope around his neck and drags him like a naqa, like a camel to the masjid. Let him do all of that. Inshallah, he did tawbah afterwards. If you can do that, you can become a nabi. What's being a Khalifa? يعني هذا غير معصوم. This is, so it's very important for us to have this discussion, to go and refute on all of these cylinders so that they don't have an argument. The ayah is given justice, and these kinds of, يعني, at the end of the day, this is deen, not teen. Okay, this is religion, not dirt. That you go and just play around with this. This is pure, heavenly, from Jibreel, from من عند سدرة المنتهى. This religion, Baba, this came with the blood, sweat, and tears of all of the prophets and the imams, so that you today could do what? You could go and just say, yani, I'll go and take what I like. This makes sense to me. That doesn't make sense to me. You either udkhulu fi silm kaffa or get out. This religion is not for here for you to go and play. Like how they played around with Christianity, or they played around with Judaism, or any of the other religions. And we're not saying this to disrespect. This is what their own scholars will come and say about their own religions. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ala.
Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala.
Let's have another loud salawat.
Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala.
So, لا ينال عهد الظالمين from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's point of view. So look, from the perspective of Qadi Nurullah Tustari, we looked at Ibrahim's perspective. Yes? From Sheikh Al-Khajui's perspective, we're looking at Allah's perspective from his research. When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, لا ينال عهد الظالمين, it becomes clear that anybody who for even a little bit of time did dhulm, imama is not for them. Question. Is this dhulm just zahir, what you and I can see, or also batin, that which is hidden, which we cannot see? Because there's dhulm sometimes that may happen in our thought processes. We may think about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala what is not appropriate to think about Allah. Yes? Who? You tell me. If this is only going to be open, then okay, I've never seen this person, يعني just like how when we do talqeen, right? لا نعلمه إلا خير. Okay, خلاص. Go and give imama to everybody. That's not what Ibrahim had to go through. That's not how imama is given to anybody. Meaning, it has to be also the batini as well. Meaning the hidden, that which people cannot see, even if that's even within your thoughts. You tell me, how do you know if someone has done dhulm and they're amongst this label of zalimeen, if the dhulm was done batini? Because look, are all of our prophets imams? Are they or no? Yeah. From a linguistic perspective, yes. But this position, this is a very high position, imama. This is something that Ibrahim, after nubuwwah, after risala, after becoming Khalilullah, then he becomes an imam. So this is not just any old kind of position that you can go and say, hey Allah, go and give it to people like it's candy on Halloween. This is something that is very high. So even if a prophet does something even a little bit wrong, khalas, they've done a little bit of dhulm. What does dhulm linguistically mean? Dhulm means you put something into a place that it doesn't deserve to be. Meaning, a form of dhulm could be when someone who is elder talks very harshly with a youth. No, but this is not how you go and talk to a youth. You go and talk with a youth with gentleness, with love, with kindness. You go and be mean to someone who's your age, someone who really, really deserves it. Even them, you should be kind to them. You shouldn't be mean to them. But this is dhulm. You're going and dealing with this person as if they're a Yazid, they're a Fir'aun. This kid, haram, okay, he wanted to play a little bit, he broke a vase, this or that. That doesn't mean that you go and start hitting him. This is not from the akhlaq of Ahlul Bayt. This is what? Dhulm. This is a form of dhulm. Another form of dhulm is, for example, I go and I put, for example, something that just doesn't deserve to be there, and I move it from its place. This should be over here on the desk, I put it over here. Technically, in Arabic lugha, this would be considered dhulm. Any little bit amount of dhulm that anybody does, khalas, they have the label that once upon a time they were zalimeen, they can never become an imam. So this is a really, really, really stringent requirement, yes? When prophets, and this is why, by the way, in Isma there are levels. Okay? We see this, for example, in the story of Musa and his teacher in Surah Al-Kahf. The Fatah is who? Yusha bin Nun. Yusha bin Nun, he says, وَمَا أَنْسَاهُ الشَّيْطَانُ إِلَّا أَنْ أَذْكُرَ. I did everything that I should have done, but there was a level higher that I could have also done, and that's also that I should have said something instead of just by ishara to Musa. And this is a whole entire research in and of itself, right? We see that Yusha does not have the same level of isma as Musa. Musa, by the way, also does not have the same level of isma as who? His teacher. This is why his teacher keeps on saying, didn't I tell you won't be able to have sabr with me? La. When you come to the Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam and his Ahlul Bayt, there's nothing even slightly wrong that they could ever possibly do. This is the level of isma that we have with the Ahlul Bayt. Yes? This is the kinds of people that we're dealing with, brothers and sisters. This is why when we leave this first half of the discussion and we enter the second half of the discussion, which is attaining that pleasure of the Ahlul Bayt. Now we understand who we're talking about, yes? Have I made my point clear? Who we're dealing with? When I say that it makes the Imam happy when you do this, that means whether it's wajib or not, it's definitely mustahab, because the rida of Fatima Zahra is the rida of Rasulullah, and the rida of Rasulullah is the rida of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is not something like a game over here. When Ahlul Bayt say something, this is part of your deen now. This is why when they say, be happy on our days with our happinesses and be sad with our sadnesses. Why are we here today, brothers and sisters? We're here to go and give the congratulations to that sad heart of Fatima Zahra. You know Fatima Zahra, salamullahi alayha. Even Ahlul Sunnah, they will narrate this, that Aisha comes and asks her, why did you smile and then cry? Or why did you cry and then smile? And I know this is not a event for sadness, but what can you do? Even when you want to be happy for Ahlul Bayt, you can't help but be sad for them. Fatima Zahra goes and answers that I was sad because Rasulullah told me that soon I will leave this world. And it's not long ago that we just said Khuda Hafiz to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. You know, in that ziyarah that we read on Saturdays for Rasulullah, أُصِبْنَا بِكَ يَا حَبِيبَ قُلُوبِنَا. It really targeted directly to our hearts when we lost you, Ya Rasulullah. حَيْثُ انْقَطَعَ الْوَحْيِ. When we lost the connection to the skies. Ya Allah, what did we lose when we lost Rasulullah? And the Ahlul Bayt, what did they lose when they lost Rasulullah? They lost that one person who would protect them from all of the evils. But then when she says, I smiled immediately afterwards, it's because he said that I will be the first one from his family who will join him. We're soon. Look, today is a day of happiness. How soon is Fatimiyya? Fatimiyya is a month and a half from now, the first Rawaya. By the time we get to December, it'll be the third Rawaya. Today is what? September. By the time we get to December, if we're going to map this map onto the map of back then, September we just lost Rasulullah. By December of the same year, we lose Fatima Zahra. And she smiles when she hears this. Ya Allah, how hard is your life at 18 years old? What dhulm have you seen at 18 years old? And what dhulm will you see once your father dies? Between September and December, between Safar and between Jumad al-Awwal. What will you see, Ya Zahra, that is making you happy that, Ya Allah, khallasna min hadha dunya. Leave me, I want to leave this dunya. This day of Eid-e-Zahra, something happened, whatever riwayah we want to accept, that brought farh, that brought happiness finally to the qalb al-mukassar, this broken heart of Fatima Zahra. And for this, we are happy that Fatima Zahra has some, in this short 18 years of life, she has some happiness. That's why we, her lovers, are here to be there when she is happy. To go and give her some help in celebrating that she's not alone. How, brothers and sisters, sad is it when you celebrate your birthday alone and no one remembers your birthday? Not from your family, not from your workplace, not from anybody in your WhatsApp group chats. Nobody, not even on Facebook. The freaking application goes and gives the reminder to all of your friends group that, hey, it's this bichara's birthday, right? Still nobody comes and gives you a happy birthday. How sad is it then? So this is why, brothers and sisters, we're here so that we're making sure Fatima Zahra is not alone when she is having her days of happiness. Everyone was there to go and give her condolences when it was her son Abu Abdullah on the 10th of Muharram, yes? Today, how many people are there? Today, how many people look in all of the masajid, not just over here in North Carolina, wherever you go. People, they say, this Eid is a bid'ah, this Eid is a... Baba, at least this is the day of happiness after the day of sadness of Imam Hassan al-Askari dying. And this is the first full day that we can celebrate. We have an Imam today with us. Sahib al-Asri wa zaman. At least this is something to be happy about. And how is this a happiness for Fatima Zahra? Because finally, after all of these years of dhulm and jawr, this Imam will come and establish justice. And we pray that we are amongst those companions who are there, bayna yadayhi, to go and help him accomplish his lofty goals. But brothers and sisters, this brings me to the second half of the majlis, and that is when we talk about this family and what makes them happy. Let's look very closely at what makes them happy. Number one, we'll start off with the Imam that we just lost this week. Imam al-Hassan al-Askari, salawatullah wa salamuhu alayhi. Imam al-Askari alayhi salam has a very interesting hadith. He says, be careful in your ibadah, that if you do ziyada, it almost cancels out the ibadah itself. What do we mean? Meaning, you're over here doing wudu. Is wudu a form of ibadah or no? Of course it is. This is why you have to have a niyyah. Try to have, by the way, Rasulullah says to Abu Dhar, let nothing go by except that you have a niyyah for it. I'm going to sleep because I want to be for Allah rejuvenated so that I can come and serve His cause. I am driving right now on this time of day to come to the mosque so that I can go and be there for the Ahlul Bayt. Yes? Everything, make sure that you have a niyyah, because those things that have a niyyah are rewarded. If you just did things hayallah, and even if it was a good deed, but it didn't have a niyyah, you lost out on the rewards. Hatta even the imams will go and say, every single thing, try to start it off with Bismillah. Can you start off, by the way, a sin with Bismillah? Meaning, even if you're trying to start a sin, you start saying Bismillah, you're like, wait, what am I doing? You catch yourself right there. Fine, okay, the Bismillah, it goes and gives you the barakah of the thing. Let's say, for example, you decided to go from your house and drive to the Zahra Center tonight. Ajarakallah for all of you. May Allah bless all of you for coming. And may Allah make all of your kids upon this tradition of coming to the center. And we'll come to this point very soon, about coming to the center and what the Imams have said about it. But you made this intention, you came to the center, you said Bismillah. You came here safely. But because you said Bismillah, you also attained all of the barakah that was involved with this short journey, whether you live 5 minutes away or 15 minutes away. Okay? You came and you said Bismillah, now this safar has barakah in it. You didn't, you happened to reach safely. Good for you. It was a chance. But what you definitely didn't get, even if you got to your destination, you didn't get any of the barakah that were along the way. Okay? Every single thing Rasulullah comes and teaches us, say Bismillah. And you'll attain the rewards of whatever there could have been. Right? You want to go higher and higher and higher in the darajats of Jannah? How do you do that? These small little things. Wallahi. These small little things, Allah has given us paradises. It's really unfair. You go and say, La ilaha illallah tuflihu. Oh wow, this is it? خفيفتان على اللسان و يعني على الميزان, they're very, very ثقيلتان. This is ajib. So we come to Imam al-Askari alayhi salam, and when he says, when you were doing your ibadah, make sure that you don't do ziyada or nuqsan, such that it almost invalidates the spirituality and the barakah and the ibadah of this act of worship that you do. Very quick example. You're over here doing wudu. And some people, mashallah, They don't pay the water bill. They're living still with mama and baba. They have both hot and cold water on at the same time. And, they're going slow as possible with each and every single part of it. Baba, close the water. Get the water, close it, do it for your face. Open the water, close it, do it for your right hand. Open the water, do it for your left hand. Save the water. Otherwise, and I'm not going to say, and by the way, you can find this in all of the rasail of our maraja, right? Where they'll go and say that you should not be doing this, but they will hesitate from saying that it invalidates the act. Because there are so many riwayat that say this from the Ahlul Bayt. Yes? So be very careful that you don't do anything that is too over and above that ends up nullifying the deed. I'll give you another example. Some people, they think that they can become more religious than the Ahlul Bayt themselves. Yes? They try to go and bring, for example, all we have in the hadith, and I'm not saying that this is wrong, right? But when you have something that is spiritual of yourself, don't go and try to push it onto other people. Yes? Some people, they want to be sad all the way until, let's say, Eid-e-Zahra. Fine, that's your prerogative. Don't come and try to say to other people, no, it's haram to go and watch movies or watch TV or watch this or that, right? Fine, on a day of musibah, of gham, okay, it's inappropriate. Ahlul Bayt, Imam Rida alayhi salam comes and says, what about his father Imam al-Kadhim alayhi salam? Sallu alayhi wa says that my father, when the days of Ashura, the 10 days would come, he would have such grief and sorrow in his heart. And on the 10th day, the day of Hussein, that would be the most amount of grief. Afterwards, do we see anything? Not necessarily. Meaning all of Muharram, all of Safar. Yes, it's good. But to go and say that it's haram and to go and put haraj on other people, no. This is not something that we find from the Ahlul Bayt. I'm sorry. Okay? You want to go and do something of your own spirituality. You feel this is a time that Ahlul Bayt, they were sad each and every single year from Muharram, Safar, all the way up until the 9th of Rabi-ul-Awaal. Fine, that's up to you. We know, however, historically, they were sad for the 5 years that Mukhtar was going and trying to get the heads of all of the oppressors of Karbala. For 5 years, they were always sad. Meaning, even after Eid-e-Zahra, they were sad. After year 5, however, yes, Imam Zayn al-Abidin alayhi salam, he would be crying every single day. He sees water, he cries. He sees a sheep being slaughtered, he cries. He remembers his dad. He remembers 17 of his family members who were slaughtered right in front of him, one after the other. That's Imam Zayn al-Abidin. The rest of the Ahlul Bayt, no, we don't find this. They would have the days, Ayyam Allah, right? They would have their days of sadness, they would have their days of happiness. I saw one person who came, it's Eid al-Fitr. He said, no, there's no Eid al-Fitr. What kind of Eid is this? When we just, a couple of days ago, we lost Ali ibn Abi Talib. There's no Eid al-Fitr. Eid is, every year, okay? Forgive me, I'm going to go ahead and take, my kids, my nieces and nephews. I'm going to go and take them to, the mosque in their best of clothes, all this kind of stuff. Imam Ali salam, yes, he did die. It was a few days ago, but this was 1400 years ago. Keep it to its day. Fine, you can have the sadness, but don't go and encroach on other days. This is another meaning of that hadith of Imam al-Askari alayhi salam. Coming now to Imam al-Sadiq, and I don't want to take too much of your time, brothers and sisters, but if you'll allow me, I want to make a very big point of what Imam al-Sadiq alayhi salam has said, if you'll allow me. If you'll allow me. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ala. The first avenue of this is Imam al-Sadiq alayhi salam once a young boy from Sham comes and he hears, Ya Ja'far ibn Muhammad, I hear that you are very learned in fiqh and usul al-fiqh and Quran and all of this kind of stuff. I would like to debate you. First rule of debate, Imam al-Sadiq alayhi salam says, about what? Meaning you go and make it about a certain thing. He says about the Quran. He says, okay, about the Quran, but about what in the Quran? He says about the lugha. So here, I'm going to have to rely a little bit on my notes, if you'll excuse me. Because the names of these companions, sometimes we don't even hear about them unless it's in this hadith. So the first companion, he says, Hamran ibn A'yun. Okay, go and debate this person about Quran linguistics. He beats him. He says, now I would like to go and debate you about, for example, Arabi, Nahu, Sarf. He says, okay, Abalim and Taglub, go ahead, debate him. He beats him. He says, now I want to debate you about fiqh. He says, okay, Zurara ibn Ayun, go debate him. He comes and says, about aqaid, I would like to debate you, Imam Sadiq. He says to Mu'min al-Taq, he says, go and debate him about aqaid. He says, I would like to debate you about tawheed. He comes and says, Hisham ibn Salim, go and debate him. Beats him. He comes and says, I would like to debate you now about imama. He says, Hisham ibn Hakam, go and debate him. He beats him. At this point, Imam al-Sadiq alayhi salam smiles. Question, why does Imam al-Sadiq smile? Does he smile to go and rub it in the face of the guy who was just beaten in the debate? No, this is not from the akhlaq of Imam al-Sadiq. Why is he smiling? You know why? Because when this guy came from Sham, he said, okay, Ja'far ibn Muhammad knows all these different fields. I want to debate him, see if he knows what he's talking about. When he goes back to Sham, what is he going to say? He's going to say, all of the Sahaba of Ja'far ibn Muhammad, kulluhum Ja'far ibn Muhammad. This is what makes Imam al-Sadiq happy. When you are a master in religion, when you are not wasteful in the resources, just like Imam al-Askari said, don't waste your resources. You may not have your 12th Imam, but you have a Quran. How good are you with your Quran? Can you read it properly? When you're in your salah, can you recite it properly? Can you tell the tafsir of an ayah? Do you have a relationship with a single surah? If I come and tell you Surah Al-Ahqaf, please tell me what Surah Al-Ahqaf says. You say, Wallah, you go and tell me to go and recite Dua Kumail, inshallah. But Surah Al-Ahqaf, what's this? Some of us might not even know there's a surah named Ahqaf. Thaniyan, Imam al-Sadiq alayhi salam wants us to be the top of each and every single one of the fields, such that he can go and say, look how proud I am of my Shia. Final point, brothers and sisters, is Imam al-Sadiq alayhi salam says about these kinds of gatherings. How happy it makes me to see you in these gatherings, in these majalis. Brothers and sisters, no one asked me to come and say this. No one. I am saying this, and I say this in many different communities, and this is something, wallahi, this is not me coming and saying this. This is from the A'immah, okay? COVID gave us a bad habit. And that was, we stay at home, we'll watch the video of the majlis online, and anyway, even at the center, I don't like this scholar so much. I have a problem, I have mushkila, this and that with him. Or this Maulana, he bores me to death. I've been told sometimes that my speeches are so boring that even in a parking lot, I'm causing car accidents. Okay? I've lost already half of my audience. Sallu ala Muhammad wa alihi. Right? I heard some people peeling away on the street. Maybe they were trying to get away as quickly as possible from the majlis. Inshallah, those of you who stayed behind, there's some kind of benefit. But there are many people who say, my favorite Maulana, he's on YouTube already. Oh, he went to London. Oh, he went to France. He went to Bahrain. He went to Karbala this year. He's in Seattle. He's in Los Angeles. He's in Dearborn. He's in New Jersey, New York. But he's not coming over here. If he came over here, wallah, I would be right over here at the bottom step. You don't come based on who the Maulana is or who the Khatib is, okay? You come because in Ashura, there is a mother who comes, and even if your shoes are not put right, she's straightening the shoes because her son died on Ashura. And that's Fatima. You're coming, look, Imam al-Sadiq alayhi salam, what did he just say in this hadith? He says, I love to see you in these majalis. Meaning, who's also here in the majlis of Abu Abdullah? The other Abu Abdullah, Imam al-Ja'far al-Sadiq alayhi salam. Your imams are here. And we know, anybody who knows the mechanics of barzakh, they know that they can be anywhere that they want. They can be in multiple places at once. Yes? Al-Zahra, she's in all of the majalis, yes or no? Or she's only here? She's everywhere. But is she there online when you're watching on YouTube? And you're just, look, YouTube, mashallah, Allah yubarak, the creators of YouTube. It's good because you want to go through all of the different lectures. You can't be at all of them at once. But when you have the blessing of a center in your community, go and be there with the Ahlul Bayt. Don't just go and say, oh, I'll go and catch it later. Oh, I got out of work late, I'm not going to be able to make it today. La. Ahlul Bayt have put in our ancestors the tariqah and the the repetition of you come to the mosque. And this is why your grandparents, when they came to this country, they had a dream. When we go and establish this center, inshallah, our kids, our grandkids, our great grandkids, they will have a Husayniyah, an Imam Barga to come to. So that's why it's sad when nobody wants to come. And even when those people who want to come, it's only a few people who want to contribute and donate. I'm telling you again, nobody came here to tell me this, but you tell me. Right? I've heard from a few people, mashallah, you're going to have a new center very soon. Mashallah, congratulations. But I've also heard that 10 years ago, when some people came, it was also still being built. Why not? Why is there no center here? Why are the Maulanas not coming over here? Why are the Maulanas going to just the same exact centers every single time? Why? Because it's a community effort to go and make sure that, okay, I will be the one who drives Maulana home. I will be the one who prepares food for the majlis. I will be the one who goes and sweeps up after. I will be the one who goes and makes sure that the bathrooms are clean for the next time we have a majlis. I will be the one who goes and... Unfortunately, there are multiple centers that I've been to where the same person who started the center 20, 30 years ago, he's the same one who funds everything. He's the same one who stays, and mashallah, he's rich. He's the same one who's after saying to go and clean up all of the toilets, men and women, him and his wife. When the imams come and say that this makes us happy, I already established how important these ma'soomeen are. You want to attain the happiness, you want to secure your akhirah, make them happy by coming to this center, to all of your local centers, and help out. You know what? Go and help out in the centers where you don't even have a hope of becoming a president or a vice president, or, sometimes our cultures, we get a little bit petty. Oh my, I don't like to go to that mosque anymore because they didn't let my mom or dad go and give the water that one time. Oh, they didn't let him come and say the qasida that one time, or the noha, or the marsiya, or this one. At the end of the day, this Husayniyah, inshallah, will stay after you and I are buried 6 feet deep. Why? Because of Muhammad and al-Muhammad. That's all we have. So I've gone over my time, and inshallah, Eid-e-Sa'id, wa kul aam antum khair, and Eid Mubarak, inshallah, wa nurahib bikum, inshallah. It was my honor and my pleasure, and thank you so much for hosting me. Inshallah, many times I would love to come back and be at the service of Ahlul Bayt and your center once again. Wassalamu alaikum jami'an wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.